The year is 73 AD, and Rome is hosting its annual Spectatacula, a festival of games in honor of the 12 gods of the Roman pantheon. But instead of the usual chariot races or athletic competitions, this year the citizens are in for a treat. An up-close and personal display of raw power and utter terror, orchestrated by the infamous Roman Emperor Titus. 6 men will be put on display today, each facing their doom in a more horrific way than the last. And as spectators, we are invited to observe the systematic deconstruction of these men's bodies and minds. Welcome to my channel. In today's episode, we'll take a deep look at 6 of the most brutal and terrifying torture methods employed by the Romans in 73 AD. These are the accounts of real events reported by Roman historians, and they offer a chilling glimpse into the darker side of the Roman Empire. What sets Roman torture apart is its scientific nature. It wasn't just about inflicting pain, it was about precision. They understood human anatomy and physiology so well that they could inflict the perfect amount of pain to make you suffer for as long as possible without killing you. The first man is introduced onto the scene, chained and gagged, his body broken from earlier torture sessions. His tormentor offers him one last chance to confess his crimes, but he refuses. So it's time for the Judas cradle. The Judas cradle sounds simple. It's a triangular wooden block with a hole in the middle shaped like a woman's yoni. But its effect is anything but simple. First, the victim is positioned on top of the cradle with their legs spread open. Then a heavy ball attached to a rope is dropped down the center of the triangle. As the ball drops, it enters the victim's body, slowly and painfully penetrating them. This causes intense physical pain, but the worst is yet to come. Instead of letting the victim rest, the tormentors crank a wheel, moving the ball further into his body with every turn. To add insult to injury, the cradle has been set up over a pool of water, reflecting the victim's suffering back at them. The sight of their own violated body mirrored back only adds to the trauma. The victim cries out in pain and humiliation, begging for mercy. But his pleas fall on deaf ears. He's left there to die, the embodiment of betrayal and agony. Next up, it's time for the second form of torture, crucifixion. As the victim is dragged away, the crowd murmurs with anticipation. Everyone here knows the drill, but that doesn't make it any less thrilling. A man is nailed to a cross. We've all seen it in movies and TV shows, but it was actually a lot more complicated than what we see in Hollywood. For starters, the Roman executioners knew the human body quite well. They knew exactly where to place the nails to cause the victim maximum pain, but not enough to kill them right away. You see, death by crucifixion wasn't just about blood loss, it was about asphyxiation. The victim would be nailed to a cross with their wrists and ankles. Their hips would be free to bear their weight, but as they struggled to breathe, they would slowly be lifted off the ground. This meant that every breath they took would be agonizing. Sometimes the crosses were angled to make breathing nearly impossible. Other times, a device called a sedel was used to support the victim's weight, forcing them to cling to the cross as they slowly suffocated. This process could take days, turning the crucifixion into a drawn-out spectacle of suffering. But there is more to come. Next, the audience is treated to a rare event, a staged animal attack. There are 2 men in this round, both tied up and helpless. The first man is thrown into the lion's den. He's lucky if he's killed quickly, but even death by wild animals was a spectacle in itself. The crowd cheers as the lions tear into their prey, but our man survives the initial attack. To make things worse, the Emperor Titus has ordered the lions to be outfitted with special spiked collars. They pulled the victim out of the den, still alive but covered in wounds. Now he's tossed into the second pit, this time filled with venomous snakes. The crowd watches intently as the snakes coil around their prey. Sometimes the animals weren't the only ones equipped with weapons. In some instances, the Romans would arm the beasts with sharp hooks or swords strapped to their forelimbs. This turned the hunt into a deadly game of cat and mouse, or rather lion and prey. After the excitement of the animal fights, it's time for something more bizarre, the boat's torture. The victim is placed on a flat boat surrounded by honey and milk, which attracts bees. Stingers pierce the victim's skin as bees swarm all over the boat. The victim screams in pain and fear as he's stung again and again. The bees, attracted to the sweet liquid on the boat, don't leave until they have completely devoured the victim's flesh. So far, the punishments have been gruesome, but they were nothing compared to what came next. The brazen bull, also known as the bronze bull, was a truly terrifying invention. The victim was tied up and placed inside a hollow bronze statue in the shape of a bull. A fire was started underneath the statue, roasting the victim alive. But that wasn't all. The Roman engineers had designed the bull to have a bellows system that sucked in air and amplified the sound of the victim's screams, making them sound like the roar of a bull. And finally, it's time for the ultimate Roman punishment, the ponocale, or punishment of the sack. This was reserved for the most heinous crime of all, patricide, or killing one's father. The victim is sewn up in a leather sack along with poisonous snakes and scorpions. The idea is that the victim will be trapped inside a tight space with dangerous animals until they suffocate. But that's not all. The Romans liked to make an example of traitors, so the sack was usually thrown into a river or hung up in a public place for everyone to see. Imagine being thrown into a sack with venomous snakes and scorpions, knowing that you're about to die a horrible death. You struggle and thrash around trying to free yourself, but it's no use. You're trapped. Then the snakes start biting you, and the scorpions sting you. You scream in pain and fear as the animals attack you. The leather sack restricts your movements, making it impossible for you to defend yourself. You try to take a deep breath, but it's too late. The snakes have already injected their venom into your bloodstream, and the scorpions have dealt the final blow. Your vision starts to blur, and your body goes numb. You can hear the crowd cheering and jeering outside the sack, but you don't care anymore. You've lost consciousness, and soon you'll be dead. Roman torture was not just a necessary evil for extracting confessions or punishing criminals. It was a tool to spread fear and maintain control. These methods of torture were not just cruel and inhumane, they were systematic and scientific. The Romans studied the human body and mind to understand how to cause the maximum amount of pain and suffering. They invented new and innovative ways to stretch out the agony, ensuring that the punishment fit the crime and that the spectacle of suffering was as vivid and memorable as possible. From the psychological torment of the Judas cradle to the excruciating death by crucifixion, from the demented entertainment of animal fights to the absurd horror of the brazen bull, and finally to the gruesome fate of the punishment of the sack. These methods reveal a disturbing aspect of Roman society, but amidst the darkness, we can also see a society that understood the power of fear and used it to keep their population in check. Do you want to learn more about ancient Roman history? Check out the series link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to be notified of new episodes. Thanks for watching.